My first impression of Part 12 when I got this video for Christmas is like, whoa, I didn't think I Love Toy Trains can make that many videos, but they certainly did thanks to their popularity and their sales at selling over 100,000 copies. Part 12 is going to be yet another great I Love Toy Trains video. The star attraction of this video was the Southern Pacific Daylight painted in the American Freedom Train. It takes passengers on a grand tour around the United States of America for its 200th birthday from 1976 to 1977, with a lot of artifacts displayed inside the cars based on America's legendary history. The train solidified the patriotism of many Americans, showing pride of their country's history and heritage. It had many people, young and old, mighty proud to be Americans as the Freedom Train travels around state to state. Well, most states. I mean, on the eastern side of the U.S., we had the Reading T1 as the American Freedom Train. I don't think many of us remember seeing the 4449 visiting one of our states like New Jersey or Pennsylvania. Maybe it was a little too far for her, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Freedom Train was a spectacular sight, and it produces the prestige of the American heritage and history. In 2002, the 4449 was repainted into its Freedom Train colors again, to pay respects to the victims who had lost their lives during the September 11th attacks the previous year, which really hurt the United States of America. At first, when watching this video, it really flew over my head that Jeff had mentioned 9/11 because I was too young to remember it at the time, but 8 years later, I soon found out that it was a thing. And my God, it looks so terrible and sad to see this. I think the 2002 Freedom Train Tour is the best medicine to cure a nasty wound on our nation from last year. It's really nice to see the American Freedom Train gliding by the Pacific Northwest landscape again after 25 years. I like this shot with the model of the Freedom Train made by K-Line speeding around a mountain on a turntable. There's just something so majestic about this shot, and the other shots where we see it in the dark, and see it cruising behind this Rocky Mountain backdrop, which looks very awesome. The Freedom Train song by James Coffey gives you a sense of patriotism, and it was a great song to play on the 4th of July, too.
Here comes that freedom train, here comes that freedom train.
This video once again talks about some streamliners like in parts 7 and 11. However, it mostly covers the diesel streamliners, with one streamlined steamer, the Milwaukee Roads Hiawatha, featured in this video. I like seeing some stylish designs of the M10000, Burlington Zephyr, City of Denver, and Aerotrain, as they used to carry some passengers back in the 1930s to 1950s around Denver, Chicago, San Francisco, and most cities that had big central stations where the trains terminate at. I really like James Coffey's rendition of 900 Miles. I mean, this version of the song is fire! I really like how he puts his all into this song. Both the music and the singing in this song go so hard.
Now if you say so, I will railroad no more. Sidetrack my train and go home. If the stream runs me right, I'll be home tomorrow night. 'Cause I'm 900 miles from my home. And I hate to hear that lonesome whistle blow. 'Cause I'm 900 miles from my home. And I hate to hear that lonesome whistle blow.
And in the beginning, we see Stu Schuster's rare Carlisle and Finch trains. Carlisle and Finch is the oldest operating toy train manufacturer in the United States, 4 years before the Lionel Company was established. It produced some toy trains. Although crudely built by today's standards, they were quite groundbreaking at the time, because they were powered by electricity, which most homes don't even have back in the day, nor transformers that pick up the amount of volts to run the electric trains. So in the case of Carlisle and Finch, they used some light bulbs to operate the trains. The trains were powered by dry cell batteries. The light bulbs that screw on and off provide the voltage that was transmitted through the wires to the steel strips of rails and then into the electric trains so they can run. If you screw in the light bulb, the trains go slower, and the resistance is built up inside them to reduce the electricity, And if you unscrew the light bulb, the trains pick up a little bit of speed and go a little faster. Probably because the trains had to take some time to pick up the amount of electricity from the light bulbs, so they can be insulated into the batteries before they can start running. And once the light bulbs were turned off, then off they go. The electric train set was an ingenious concept during that time. It would later be developed when Lionel tags along with their own special electric trains. But all of the Carlisle and Finch trains were really obscure to find these days. If anyone is interested into getting some Carlisle and Finch trains, well, good luck with that, because they can be very hard to find and you wouldn't really see them that much as you were trying to surf around the internet to buy some. Here's this brief segment about the Lionel lift bridge. It's an accessory that Lionel had never released for over a whopping 50 years. 50 years! Granted, they had made some lift bridges before, but that's only in the modern era of Lionel. They had never made one in the post-war era before. It was originally announced in the 1950 catalog that Lionel is going to produce the lift bridge just like how they produced their bascule bridges during the pre-war era, but it never happened until 2002 for some very strange reasons, and that was very bewildering. It's already been released 52 years too late into the Lionel catalogs. It must have gone through a rough production history as Lionel's trying to release it.
Oh no!
Before the Pennsylvania Railroad's GG1, there was the DD1 Locomotives. If you thought the GG1s looked strange and foreign in design, get a load of the DD1s. Those locomotives look 90% European in design, a little more so than the GG1s. They're square just like Toby the Tram engine, although Toby wouldn't like it either if he was a DD1. The DD1s were electric engines built by the Altoona workshops for the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1910. They've been assigned to head passenger trains for the grand opening of Penn Station, along with the New York extension tunnels that would link trains between the United States mainland and Manhattan and New York City. The DD1 shuttled passengers between the Manhattan Transfer on the east of Newark to Pennsylvania Station in New York City. 66 of these engines were produced by the Altoona workshops for the last 10 years. Many of them hauled passenger trains to and fro at Penn Station every day, and many of them operated on the third rail track around the Northeast, where they pick up 650 volts of electrical current from the communicating poles to the electrical motors inside the cabs of the engines, and they reach a top speed of 85 miles per hour. While the GG1s were slowly but steadily replacing the DD1s for the next generation of passenger train travel, the DD1s were reallocated to local passenger trains on the Long Island Railroad for the next 20 years. Until between 1949 and 1951, many of them were scrapped for newer and more modern electric locomotives, as the GG1s carry on with their passenger service until their eventual retirement. In this video, we see a model of the DD1 made by MTH in 2002. Today, the only remaining DD1s from the class were numbers 3936 and 3937. They were both donated to the Pennsylvania Railroad Museum in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, after they had been both saved from scrap. It was also the same museum where the GG1 was donated at as well, restored in its glorious paintwork and is put on display. Maybe if they're sentient engines, they can both get along at the end after they have been rivals for years, just because one had gradually replaced one another. In this video, we get to see two layouts, the Marklin and Lionel OO layout, and this O-gauge layout themed around Christmas and the winter by the Vago Family. While Carlisle and Finch is the oldest toy train manufacturer in America, Marklin, a German manufacturer, is the oldest toy train manufacturer in the world. Even the Thomas the Tank Engine crew had used many of its tooling to build their Gauge 1 engines during the model series. This HO/OO layout is at the TM Books and Video studio. Originally, it was a Lionel OO layout built for the Century of Lionel video 3 years prior, and it consists of 2 loops of track. Then the team decided to expand it by adding wide shelves around the layout below, including a mountain tunnel and a viaduct, so they can have 3 more loops of track around the layout with some Marklin trains that they had bought. The lower layer attached to the layout is built by Ralph Whistle and his son Tom Whistle. More on them later. The layout now had the best of both worlds. It was a combination of Lionel OO and Marklin HO or OO, both of which were North American and European style trains running around the layout. Trains were a tradition in the Vago family, and this is a family layout that they built. I like this layout because of how wholesome it is for a family to be building a train layout together and to have fun operating many of the trains and accessories on it. I wish it was something that me and my family would do together. Richard had built a layout for himself and for his son Ian, and Ian had built a layout for his son Brian, who is 5 years old. Jeff and his family had paid a visit to the Vago family and their layout so they can play with some trains together, along with his friend Asher. We see Brian and his sister Abigail together, with Jeff and Asher looking at the trains. Abigail enjoys playing with the trains too, but I don't think she knows how to operate them. Maybe either Ian or Richard can help show her how it works. On one end of the layout was Brian's layout. He likes to have his layout be themed around Christmas, with a trolley line and Department 56 buildings. There's some hectic holiday shopping at the Lionel train store and other animated buildings like this Ford dealer and Shelley's Diner. And this comment Jeff had made at the Graceland building was pretty funny, thinking if someone is home or not.
And it looks like someone's home at Graceland. Could it be? Nah.
A lot of the trains on this layout had very colorful liveries. I like the streamlined passenger sets of the Rio Grande, Texas Special, Chesapeake and Ohio, and Southern, plus a New Haven electric locomotive, and some steamers like the Southern 4501, the Pennsy B6, which look really nice pulling some passenger cars, and the Pennsylvania Railroad's T1 duplex. We've actually talked about the GG1 in Part 6! They also own a Lionel Girls train set, Lionel's biggest flop in history. It was made during the 1950s, a time when people might do some things that were a little questionably sexist. Lionel tried to appeal to girls by introducing them a train with brightly different colors, but the feedback from them was that they wanted to play a toy train that looks like a real train and not a train painted in Easter egg colors. These days, the girls' train had become the most sought-after set among collectors. Lionel had reissued this set in 1991, with a few refinements to it like the valve gear or motor. For the accessories, there's a lot of them on this layout, both from the pre-war and post-war eras of Lionel. There's the 115 station, the gateman, the frantic freight station, diesel fueling station, arrival and departure board, an operating switch tower, the 164 log loader, a culvert loader, a refreshment stand, and so much more. Even those two 3015 bascule bridges somewhere in the middle of the layout. One of the little figurines from the frantic freight station accidentally fell off from feeling so dizzy. At the end of this segment, we get to see the rest of the family like Richard's wife Susie and Ian's wife Sherry, and that last line from Jeff, he had said it best, and I quote, "The family that plays trains together stays together." And that says a lot about the importance of family. That last clip at the end of the video is really heartwarming. We see Ian and his daughter Abigail looking like she's waving goodbye at us before the video ends. I mean, this is kind of touching to see this. But wait! But before this video ends, remember how Jeff said that we won't be seeing Asher again until later in the show? At the end of the video, Jeff is just about to conclude the show, but here's a little twist to it. Someone had shoved a pie right into Jeff's face, and on the left laughing at him was Asher himself, Jeff's best friend, who was playing a trick on him by pieing him in the face and being up to mischief. Oh, now I get it, so that's why we won't be seeing Asher until later. I get that. I didn't really get it at first, because I thought we won't be seeing him again until the next show. But now I understand. We're just going to have to wait until we get something that is really unexpected out of it now, weren't we? That was a very subtle hint here. Both boys are just being besties, and they had a lot of fun together. That ending did have me caught off guard though. Now out of all the previous I Love Toy Trains videos, Part 12 is the longest video in this series, second longest to the preceding video. It had lasted for a total of 38 minutes. While the video is very long, it still had some amazing and memorable segments in there, especially with the American Freedom Train, pulled by the SP4449 GS4, also known as the Daylight. The entire family layout is really sweet, and the Marklin HO/00 layout is fascinating. The DD1 locomotives look remarkable in design, and had done such a great service to the Pennsy Railroad lines. Everything else about this video was spectacular through and through. I love seeing some more Streamliners again, and the Carlisle and Finch trains, the trains that were very obscure for many collectors to find. 2 songs by James Coffey, which James had put his all into both of these songs, and they sound so awesome. Part 12 is an oh so amazing video. When you watch this video, your experience with it will be out of this world, especially with the Freedom Train. Well, we finally made it. Tomorrow will be the last video of the original I Love Toy Train series, the final show. There's going to be a lot to talk about regarding to this video, so get ready for that, because it's a 45-minute special.
Well, I'm riding on the